Phase Hero episode 76 starts right now. This is the Superman spoiler-filled review and discussion. Welcome to the show. I'm BD, joined today by Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody. What a beautiful super Friday.
It is a super day, super week. We got Jamie Jirak.
Oh, super indeed. Hello, friends.
And we got Aaron Perine.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
Aaron, that is a cool looking like brick backdrop. Where are you at?
I am at New Rockstars, hanging out with the fam. We're going to be. I'm going to be talking about Superman a lot today. Superman a lot today.
All right, everybody, make sure you tune in to New Rockstars. We love the team at New Rockstars. I mean, who doesn't love Eric Voss and the whole gang over there?
He just walked by.
Get Eric Voss to Cameo. Eric is welcome anytime. Brandon Moore, thank you for the 5. If Eric Voss walks by, you tell him to come say hi to Face Hero.
Okay.
More than welcome. Brandon Moore, thank you for the 5. Wanted to show my favorite creators some love, even though I can't stay. Have an awesome show. Keep killing it. I assume Brandon might not have seen Superman yet, so I respect that. We are going to have Superman spoilers. So I'm going to put this on the screen, maybe for the whole thing.
Good idea.
Because do you think I should stay up the whole time?
Some version of it, just in case someone stumbles on it in the middle of the show. And
the video is called Superman Spoiler Filled
You would be
Review.
surprised.
So here's what's going to happen in this episode. We are going to share our general reactions to the movie. You may have heard some of them if you're listening to the podcast already earlier this week. It's been Superman week all week. We are going to share the sort of moments where we knew whether we liked the movie or not. We're going to share our favorite characters. We're going to give non-comic compliments, something new to the show. Let's talk about the filmmakers. Let's talk about the techniques. Non-comic compliments to Superman. I have a hot take I got to share with everybody. We're going to talk about some of the changes from the comics, some of the cameos, and then some Easter eggs. But first, right now, let's get it on the big screen. We got a cameo on Face Hero. Eric Voss, you legend. What's up, dude? Oh, you're muted. You guys are muted over there.
Well, he looks great.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hey, Brandon. Hey, hey, Jamie. Hey, Jenna. Hey, guys.
Hello.
What's up, Eric? Eric,
Good to see you.
I think I've seen you talk about this. Since you're here, real quick, what did you think of Superman?
I mean, I loved it, Like I think my score was like 9.2 out of 10 because like it does some things to where it like, James Gunn does indulge in some of his goofball shit, but like I think overall it's like the kind of sandbox we need, and there's so much writing on this film. That's right, Mephisto, it's confirmed, baby. The year is one. We are living in a new era. But I love the movie, but I'm also trying to give room for people who didn't connect with it. I don't think we have to universally all agree on any movie, but I think we can agree on it's a good thing that DC has a thriving sandbox to tell these stories in, and I'm really looking forward to see what Craig Gillespie does with Supergirl, and I hope some directors take different approaches, and I think James Gunn built like a sturdy enough sandbox that people can play in it, and that's what I'm most excited about.
Hey man, I'm right there with you. Is it a perfect movie? I wouldn't call it that. We'll get to that, but it's a very good, fun movie, and I'm right there with you. I enjoyed it. Well, dude, you're welcome to hang, but I know you got a lot going over there at New Rockstars. So
yeah, I got to get back. I got 2 videos.
Yeah, I figured I wanted to, but it's cool to see. I think our comment section lit up when you came and sat down. So thank you for popping in, dude. I hope to see you soon.
We'll see each other soon, and thank the 4 of you on always doing a great job on this show. I'm so glad you guys are still doing it. You guys always do a great job. And I love following all of you on social media and hearing all of your takes individually. But when the 4 of you come together, it's like magic. So I love you guys.
Come
we
on.
love
Thank
you,
dude. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Right.
I'll see you soon. I'll see you at Fantastic Four.
Thank you, Eric.
That was cool. We love Eric Voss here on Face Hero. We love the whole New Rockstars team. They are great. So also, as he just said, thank you to New Rockstars for the work they do. All right, reactions all around. Jenna, you're at the top of the screen here. I yap a lot, so I'm gonna be quiet here and let you 3 take the lead. Jenna, your thoughts on Superman? Spoilers are welcome from this point forward.
I have seen the movie 3 times now. I am definitely going to try to go again at some point again this weekend. I love this movie more and more with each passing moment. I cannot believe that we are sitting here having people be enthusiastically cheering and laughing and being endeared to Mr. Terrific and Metamorpho and Guy Gardner and just the sandbox of this universe and just the way that Superman is in this movie. It feels surreal to be here after all of the long and winding road and the trials and tribulations that got us to this point. But it is so beautiful to see this movie become a moment. And I love the movie for what it is. I think that there is so much to chew on. There is just so much that it is swinging for the fences with in a way that like we need in this space in order to kind of just like push the superhero idea forward. And so I am just blown away. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking because I'm just so happy.
I love that. I mean, your opinion was one I think has been important to a lot of people as we have all looked forward to this movie. And the fact that you're satisfied honestly makes me quite happy. Jamie, what'd you think?
I really loved it. I certainly have a couple complaints, which I will share throughout the show. But ultimately, it was just so joyful. It really, to me, was like a true blue comic book film. Like it felt so much of what a comic book movie should be, especially a comic book character like Superman. The casting in this movie is out of control. They're all great, but Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane is like deeply personal to me on like such a level. I love Mrs. Maisel, and I can't think of anyone a better casting than her for this part. But they're all fantastic. I came home last night and I watched The Suicide Squad. And I want to just shout out James Gunn for people sometimes give him a hard time, I think, for like doing the same shit. But watching The Suicide Squad, that is just so deeply untrue. Suicide Squad is like this goofy, dirty, like kind of nasty, mean movie that also has heart, whereas Superman has this very heartfelt movie that has some silliness to it, of course. But to say that James Gunn does the same thing all the time is crazy. I'm so happy I watched this movie back to back because I just really respect him as a filmmaker, and I had a great time.
I personally think the only thing James Gunn does the same every time is put heart into the movie. No matter what the character is, he makes you care. Aaron, what'd you think?
I enjoyed myself. It is interesting to situate this movie inside of this summer of movie going for sure. I am very thankful that positivity seems to be back in fashion, which is nice. I would like that if that would continue. Please, Fantastic Four, First Steps, please continue that. I am also happy because I think I mentioned this on Wednesday, but like I've never seen more people in the local theater near where I live than Tuesday during the Amazon like preview screenings. It was the line for popcorn. I need Jamie to give me like the bathroom report from where her theater was.
There was toilet paper. I was surprised, to be honest.
Oh, what's going on? People get them numbers up. But that I'm happy for that. I'm especially happy for the people of Cleveland from back home. Like we and Ariel watched this thing and we're picking out like that's this street. That's where this is. That's where this is. It's just that is really joyful. But see, people really enjoying things that they love. And I don't know if it's just the platforms I'm on, but there's not a bunch of dunking on stuff. And that is just nice to see. So while maybe not as high on it as some of the commenters are and some of the people are, because I mean, Brandon, I'll ask you, do you remember a Rotten Tomatoes score for critics and audiences aligning on a big budget film like this in the last 3 years?
What comes to mind is like Black Panther.
Yeah, that's 18.
Or probably like Barbie.
Barbie.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the comic book space. I mean, Infinity War and Endgame have pretty good scores from both. Spider-Man No Way Home. But yeah, I get your point. It's not often that you see the critic score and the audience score align. This movie just seems to be, as this $4.99 comment from Get Fun Code says, for all of us. Thank you, Max, for the $4.99. Can't say a bad thing about it. James Gunn found a way to make Superman feel relatable and all characters look awesome. And on that note, actually, before I share my thoughts, we have a couple more super chats to shout out. Thank you so much. Thank you to the audio listeners who deal with us calling out the super chats, by the way. Derek Goodman Jr., sup, y'all? Gotta go. I haven't seen the movie. See it tonight. Just wanted to see you all faces and show some love. Happy Superman Day. Thank you so much, Derek. Hope you enjoyed the movie and hope you enjoy the podcast after you see it. And Jordan Daganice. Says, long-time listener, first-time live watcher, love all y'all and love Superman. 10 out of 10, would watch 5 more times. Thank you so much for the 10. Congrats to giving Superman a 10 out of 10. Welcome to our live show circus. We got one more here, $5 from Galaghost. Hey, gang, happy Superman Day. It's not a perfect movie, but God, it's the movie I needed in my life at this moment in time. I loved it so much. Cheers. Hey, thank you so much, Galaghost. It just feels like there's an air around this movie of positivity, which is nice. Hello, Kitty. Oh, look at that. And I felt it while I was watching the movie. The first time, I've seen it 3 times now as well, and I'm probably going a 4th. I got to take my mom to see it. The first time I watched it, that ending sequence where I'm a punk rocker, yes I am, is playing, and Superman is looking at his parents, and his parents are Ma and Pa Kent. That just, I was smiling ear to ear and crying. And I can't think of another movie that's made me cry, like happy tears like that. And the moment where Lois says, I love you too. And the moment where Clark says, I love you for the first time to her and then takes off, those moments landed so well for me. And I think the beating heart of this movie is their relationship, and the balance of the supporting characters is great. My criticism of it is the first 15, 20 minutes are a lot. I mean, they are definitely a lot. I also thought that jamming that kaiju's eye out was grosser than I needed it to be. What is with James Gunn and stabbing things in the eye? But I mean, that's just me being critical. Once that black screen and then the cut to Daily Planet happened, I felt like that's when the movie really hit the ground running and never looked back. And I'm actually going to use that as our segue into our first segment on the show. When did you know? What was the moment where you were in? The movie won you over. You were like, I think I'm going to like this from here on out. For me, it was the interview scene. When I saw Rachel Brosnahan and David Corenswet as Clark / Superman and Lois, that chemistry, the way that scene went on, the way they used all the different parts of the apartment set, the whole thing, I thought was when I was in. From that point forward, I loved it. What was your scene where you were like, this is a movie I love? Jenna, you're up there. Go ahead.
Well, I will say, just to your point about the first 15 minutes, like every subsequent rewatch, that clicks into place even further. Like it is much easier to kind of digest it. But I love the fact that the movie just throws you in. The way that if you pick up a random issue of a comic, or if you just start a certain mini series that starts in media res, like that is the reading experience as well. And I think we're not used to that, especially for like a fully new universe. But I think that it is a very gutsy decision to make. And I think it pays off once you know what you're expecting. For me, there are 2 moments where I knew. The first one is the opening title crawl. Like I love that. I thought that was so genius, just to kind of establish this new universe, establish a little bit of the history, and then just like use that text and just really go from there. And then the second one, I agree with you on the interview scene. It is one of my favorite scenes probably in all of live action superhero media. I think it is so well done. But in that scene when Clark is drinking milk, I was like, this movie gets it. Like I knew this movie would get it, but to have it be on this like micro detail level of like, of course that's what Clark Kent is drinking at, like with dinner. Like that was so on brand for him that I knew, I'm like, this movie is special.
Jamie, did you have a moment where you were like, I'm in?
You know, first, just to piggyback off that milk thing, the most unhinged thing I've ever seen was Guy drinking milk and eating cereal with milk at the same time. Yeah. I was like, that is a kooky, crazy, insane person who needs to be locked up.
Bro was eating Fruity Pebbles in a diner.
Yeah. Wild business. I don't know if I had an exact moment where I knew the movie was for me, but I can tell you that the moment that I knew it was getting bumped up a half star was the very end when they were floating in the air and kissing. I cried. And I was like, oh, this movie made me feel something. And then to immediately go, like you said, BD, into the Ma and Pa Kent stuff was like, I was crying twice in a row. And I'm like, oh, this movie is special. And this movie is getting that extra half star. In terms of like a moment where I knew, I can't say, because I was just so along for the ride. But it definitely, I think, just kept getting better as it went on.
Aaron, was there a moment for you where the movie was made or broken for you?
Clark, there's something on the box. You need to come see this. Probably.
Something on the box. I popped when she said something on the box.
Something on the box is real country. Grandma Marchman used to say things like that to a younger Aaron long time ago. And I was like, I've met these people. They are from a very different context than where I'm from, but I have met these people. And I would be a hypocrite if I saw my parents and my people in like Miss Marvel in their family and did not see my people in these people from like the Heartland. It's all really that sort of universality is what drives Superman. I would imagine, like, you know what I mean? So that really got me. I think I was in right there.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna be glazing this movie for like another 20-30 minutes here. But being honest here, all right, let's talk about favorite. Actually, before we get to favorite characters, we got to shout out some more. My goodness, more stuff. W. Richard in the chat. Richard Nevins says Crypto is the worst best good boy in movie dog history. Loved Superman, had so much to love, and I was smiling from start to finish. Solid 8.59. Glad you guys loved it. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much for the 10, Richard. Motor World hype, optimism, hope, color, and soul. This movie makes you think about the people that raised you and the kind of person you want to be. Not perfect, but it's the Superman that the superhero genre needed. I think a lot of us will agree with that as well. And then we got one more here from Daniel Zambrano. Jamie, please tell your cat I love it. Confirmed.
That $10 is for Papagino only. No one else can touch it. Thank you.
Papagino's eating well today. Thank you guys for all those super chats. Let's get into some favorite character stuff. We're still going to get into Easter eggs. We're still going to get into the cameos, and where this can go. But favorite character, Jenna, who was your favorite character in the movie?
Everyone, honestly, everyone. Like, it is so hard to pick a favorite, and each viewing there are like little specific things about certain performances that I get endeared to. Like, rewatching it again for the third time, the way that Nicholas Hoult enunciates every single line and just his facial expressions as he is talking are crazy. Like, I've seen people in the lead up be like, it's very Tom Cruise-esque, and I can kind of see that parallel as well, but just he makes a meal out of even the most like mundane things that he's saying, and it feels so quintessentially Lex. But even then, me shouting out Lex, I could do the same thing for every single character in this movie, even if they have like 2 lines of dialogue. I think everyone nails it across the board.
Jamie, what about you?
Lois for sure, but I'm obsessed with Ladies Man Jimmy Olsen. Like, I truly could not, because I think James Gunn gets his appeal. Like, I remember watching Booksmart for the first time and just being like, I love this child. And Eve, the compliment of Eve was perfect. She was so good. Valerie Perine, who played Eve in the 70s movies, she was so great, and this was such a fun new take on the character that I really appreciated. It's funny, Jenna mentioning Lex. There was a part of the movie where I'm like, I love Nicholas Hoult, he's doing great, but he's not giving me anything that I'm like, this is amazing, until his envy speech. Once he gave that speech, I was like, oh, I'm into this. Yes. And then he cried. I was like, oh, little baby, suck it. So yeah, the casting really is, I think, the strongest thing about the movie.
Aaron?
Sarah Fenn in a mustache, undefeated. She's out here doing it. I think that my favorite character, and weirdly enough, like Ariel, the moment she bought in, is Crypto.
Crypto.
Crypto is, there are so many people who are working at shelters right now that have no idea what they've walked into, unfortunately, after this weekend. You're going to get a lot of people going and getting dogs after Crypto in this movie. Like, when he's laying on Clark's chest when he wakes up, just kind of staring at him, Ariel audibly awed, and half the audience did too. And I was like, something weird's going on with this movie. This is the third time we've gotten that kind of visceral audio reaction that wasn't like a cameo or something. It was just something that happened in the film. So yeah, my wife, I'm not a huge dog person, but the worst good boy imaginable was fun.
I do not have Aaron's back because I keep being like, get your wife a dog. Let her have a dog.
My favorite character was Mr. Terrific.
Hell yeah.
I thought Terrific was great. Every time Mr. Terrific was on screen, he was goddamn Mr. Terrific. I thought that was fantastic. He could have easily been a character that they make a bit jokey or something like that, and they made him so serious. He looked like a piece of Alex Ross art brought to life. He really was, Damon. He was terrific.
The fight scene where Lois is in the bubble was one of the best scenes of the movie.
That
was so sick.
Oh yeah, before you say your thing, when I saw this for the first time, I could not wipe the grin off my face. I felt like I was 10 years old again, like hopped up on sugar, having the time of my life. Like, being a comic fan and getting to see him utilized and showcased in such a cool way, beyond my wildest dreams. Now, Brandon, tell your story because it is very funny.
I put myself big screen because I have to clip this for social. I have to admit this.
Oh no.
the first time I watched Superman, right after Lex shot that guy in the head, I was like, surely there's going to be a lull right here, and I really got to pee. So I sprinted out of the theater to the bathroom as soon as they landed at that Luthor Corp camp. And I ran, and I came back, and I saw Mr. Terrific take all his T-spheres, and everyone in the theater started clapping. And I was like, what did I just miss? And I sat down, and my buddy Josh, shout out to Dead Boys Fitness. Josh, he goes, you just missed the best scene in the movie. So I watched it the second time, and that scene is genuinely fucking terrific. It is so good. It's very Yondu Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, in my opinion, that style with the arrow and everything. But my goodness, that scene was tremendous, and I cannot believe I went to the bathroom at that point.
BD, if it makes you feel better, I went to the bathroom and missed the iconic trailer moment where Crypto was laying on his on the bed. And afterwards I saw that image again, and I looked at Tony and I went, oh no, I missed the dog cuddles. But I'm gonna go see it again. Come on.
Good.
When walking out of the premiere, I was walking out behind Eddie, and I said, Eddie, quick question: how's it feel to steal an entire movie? he was like, oh man, I'm just enjoying it. But I really think he stole the scenes.
I will sim for First Class forever, but they did him dirty, and it's really nice to see him get his due. And where my Twilight fans at? Let's never forget that is true. In Twilight.
Chat, who's your favorite character in Superman? Go ahead. Let's hear who everybody's favorite character is. Christopher Edwards says $9.99. Thank you so much for the 9.99 pounds. The moment I was all in on this Superman was when I realized my cheeks hurt from smiling so much. There you go. That's a good moment. Let's do something here. And chat, after you tell us your favorite characters, I want you to participate in this as well. And everybody listening in audio form, Instagram, social media, wherever you reach us, we love to hear from you guys. And if you're wearing Phase Hero gear to go watch Superman, send us a picture. We want to share that. I think that's so cool. And to everybody in Franklin who happened to be at the theater and then tweeted at me afterwards, there was a few people who were like, I would have loved to see. And I love it when people say hey and stuff. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm open to it, by the way.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I'm not a wrestler who says don't approach me in the airport. You see me, say hey, tell me you love Phase Hero. It makes my day. Just don't be weird. That's all. Just that's just don't be weird. Anyway, non-comic compliments for Superman. Something you loved about the movie that has nothing to do with an Easter egg, a comic book element, or anything like that. And I can give an example because I have mine. Yeah. Mine is I love the camera work that James Gunn did in this movie. The camera movements were so dynamic and constant when they needed to be. Like, for example, in that interrogation scene where Lex shot, what's that guy's name? Molly? I don't know if I'm saying it right, but where Lex had Superman's friend, the way the camera would zoom in and move and pan and do this, and the camera movements in this movie I thought were fantastic. And the way he shot flying, the way he shot Mr. Terrific flying on Krypto's back, just so many things like that. The movement made this feel different from other comic book movies and other action movies. And I thought James Gunn did a really good job of making this feel, I don't know how to articulate this the right way, because I don't want to say campy, because it wasn't, but it almost gave it that comic book cartoonish feel that you don't see in movies. The way he would punch in, the way he would move around, and I'm repeating myself at this point, but I really, really loved the cinematography and the camera movement in Superman.
This is not an answer to your question, but it is a piggyback off what you just said, because everyone knows that campy DC is my favorite DC. I do want to shout out on Threads when I shared how much I loved Batman and Robin. People disagreed. No one threatened to execute me, so we're on a much better platform. But I was impressed with. I thought the same thing. I'm like, this movie isn't campy. It just has color and heart and feel, and that's a hard line to toe. And I was really impressed with that, because I'd be happy if it was full camp. No, don't get me wrong. But that's not an easy thing to do, to go either you're going silly or you're going dark. But there was this kind of beautiful magic line that he did.
Yeah. Jenna, what's your non-comic compliment?
I mean, it's comic adjacent in the way, but the costuming in this movie, like everyone looks great, and especially the superhero suits. I remember when set photos came out when this movie was in production, and people were kind of a little hesitant about the Lord Tech sponsored Justice League suits. But I think the Justice Gang look great, and especially when they're just in scenes, just talking with Lois, and they're wearing the costumes, like the suits just look awesome. And David's suit looks incredible. Like standing in front of it on a mannequin at the Superman premiere, I had like the Ferris Bueller moment. I would have stood in front of that for like an hour and just like stared at every single stitch on it because it just looks incredible. I think the costuming, to Jamie's point, like it's colorful and it's bright, but it still feels uniquely modern and it feels real in this very kind of tangible, nice way.
Jamie, what about you?
Oh, I mean, I already said the casting, which I feel like is like could be comic book, but I do think that like that's just a talent to have. So I'm gonna go just with pacing because like we're talking about going to the bathroom, and usually I'm really good at knowing when to go, and like I can feel it. I know how to feel that out in a movie, and there was like no moment where I'm like I kept being like, oh, I don't think so. I don't think now's the time, and that means you're doing something right when I'm nervous to get up and leave the film.
Aaron?
Can I say architecture stuff because like it's weird.
No, Aaron, you're
like,
not allowed.
I don't know. I'm like, this question is hard. The way Superman, especially DC Comics, draws off of like Art Deco and like mid-century or even 20s style architecture is so prominent that having a lot of it happen in the Midwest is really smart, really interesting. Like the Cleveland stuff, of course, turning Tower City and like Terminal Tower into the Daily Planet. You can tell people have taken their Polaroids and put them up in the doorways where like Clark walks in at the beginning and stuff like that. The actual Hall of Justice being in freaking Cincinnati in that Union Hall that I've stood in before, and then James taking the actual mural that's on the wall of like American progress through the years and then having it be like old comic book here. Like he is such an idea. Like it makes it feel a little bit more tactile, and for such a world that's kind of out there. I mean, superheroes have been a thing for 300 years in this universe. It makes it feel closer to us in a weird sort of way, even though a lot of stuff is like out there in the movie. So yeah, I think that's kind of cool.
I also want to shout out, and this is kind of a comic thing, I guess, but I want to shout out for the acting. Jonathan and Martha Kent. I mean, just every bit of how they portrayed those characters, from the one line of dialogue, "I cleaned your boots for you," to I'm so proud of you. Like on the bench. I mean, I'm getting emotional even thinking about it. Like, I mean, just from a personal perspective, the thought of somebody who would mean as much as your own father, you know, and you want to have that feeling of like somebody like that saying, "I'm proud of you." Like it just, I don't know. It worked so well, and I thought it was so well acted.
I never want to disparage Diane Lane and Kevin Costner. Those are things I actually don't have complaints about in the other universe, but like they're so hot. Like I love the idea of just real looking Midwestern parents that feel like, you know, I went to college in the Midwest and all of my friends' parents looked and acted like, and it's really like, it's just so genuine.
Yeah. Glad they didn't kill Pa Kent again, says Drew Don Foster.
Yeah.
Same. Right there with you. We got 2 more super chats here. Keith, thank you so much, man. 999 said, loved it, but I can't buy Superman was raised by 2 people who can't use a cell. Also needed more from Engineer. The secret to making a good Superman movie is making a good Jimmy Olsen movie. Confirmed. Jimmy Olsen was, I have thoughts on Jimmy Olsen. I'm gonna get to those in a second. Thank you so much, Keith. Also, Ma using that iPhone on speakerphone was pretty funny. Those people listen. I live in Nashville. Those people exist. Will of the Force 999 says every CBM review says a comic book come to life, but Superman takes the cake. Shout out to Face Hero for great coverage for this film since day one. Made the lead up and viewing experience even more enjoyable. Hey, Will of the Force, thank you for the 999 and that wonderful comment. I really appreciate that. But since Keith mentioned Jimmy Olsen, I have a hot take here.
I've been waiting for this conversation on mic.
I'm ready. I'm fucking ready.
Jimmy Olsen is a villain. I don't understand how anybody is acting like he's not. If in real life somebody was doing the things Jimmy Olsen was doing, he would be hated for it. This man was not only using that woman for intel and emotionally manipulating her for it, but also putting her in danger. And when Ultraman and Lex pulled her out of the closet. That sounded terrifying. And he was like, oh, you're so annoying. And he didn't notify anyone that Eve was possibly fucking dead. He was just like, she sent me sexy selfies. First of all, Eve, what's up, girl? Second of all, Jimmy Olsen is a villain, bro. And granted, this is a character from comics who does crazy shit all the time. So it's not too outrageous for him to act this way in the movie. Like, there is precedent for it. But how is anybody condoning what this man did in the movie?
I have thoughts, but I want to hear Jamie first.
Okay, my thoughts are like, yes, he was acting. He did not act gentlemanly. He was doing things wrong. I will not disagree with that. But like, we've all been young and dated and made mistakes and been assholes. I'm sorry. We've all been, yes, there's the factor of her life's in danger, but like, you know, it's an extreme circumstance. You're not wrong, but I do want to point out that like he came around in the end when she hugs him and he smiles. He realized this woman is hot. She likes me. Like I've been a dope.
And he saw that purple dress and was like, "Oh, okay. You know what? Matter of fact,
no, you know what it was? It was when Lois called her hot.
Yeah,
he literally was like, "Oh, she is hot. Like,
yeah,
I've just been like, she's annoying too. I get it. And yes, he was at fault, but I still think it was funny and adorable. And I am a Jimmy Olsen stan forever.
I love even just hearing that phrase again, given how Jimmy Olsen was handled in the previous universe and he got shot in the head 90 seconds after he was shown on screen. It's nice to be in this reality. I did not have the reaction that B did originally because it's the combination of knowing Jimmy from the comics, which as you mentioned, he gets into the weirdest possible situations and he kind of handles them in a very specific sort of way. Like as the comments are mentioning, he turns into a turtle. He like gaslights half a dozen different women, most of whom are like aliens or have superpowers or whatever. Like that is just the way that Jimmy Olsen goes about the world. And also like I know Skylar Gazondo the best from The Righteous Gemstones, which is an entire show of people acting horribly. So I was kind of like not completely taken aback by it. But on subsequent rewatches, it works. And like Jamie said, like the moment when he smiles at the end of it is just so delightful. And I think it's such a nice contrast to Clois's relationship and just how much of a yearner that Clark is and how just hopelessly in love he is with Lois. To have Jimmy kind of being a little bit more of a dick, which is realistic to the dating scene, but also just a nice contrast there.
I know Jimmy Olsen playlist got to be fire. I know
it is.
All them playlists got to be
the official
fire.
Spotify playlist that James put out. All of Jimmy's songs are about like hooking up with women or like casual dating or whatever. And like he acknowledges that in the intro, and he thinks like Jimmy canonically would not even register that all of those songs have a similarity, but they totally do.
I see people being like, I don't get it. And it's like, if you don't get his riz, you probably aren't attracted to men. And that's okay. You don't have to be attracted to men, but like he has something. And that like there's a charm. Well, he's a cutie. He's a cutie.
Listen, I ain't even going to talk about physical attraction, nothing. I mean, I think he showed that he's a very secure, attractive guy the moment he was one of the people celebrating Clark getting the front page. That's like the sort of moment where if you're willing to hype someone up, you know, that even if like objectively Clark Kent is probably traditionally the better looking guy than Jimmy Olsen out of the way these two characters are portrayed in the movie, he doesn't sit there and get jealous. He's like, hell yeah, man, I'm genuinely happy for you. And I think the most secure people are the people who will hype their friends up. He's still a fucking villain, and I don't ever want to hear another complaint about Tony Stark bragging about going 12 for 12 with Maxim cover models. Or being a womanizer, because Jimmy Olsen literally put a woman's life in danger, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, this guy's so funny," and he is funny. Listen, I thought he was entertaining as hell, and it worked in the movie, but he's a villain.
She put her own self in danger. You know, like he's still wrong for not helping her, but it's not like he would send her in there. It's not like he was like, "I've got a secret mission for you. Go date Lex Luthor, so that I can get intel."
She got caught sending him intel.
No, that sucked. That was his bad for sure.
Characters are supposed to grow. They're supposed to go on an arc. Even like I saw people in the comments being like, why is Jimmy not a photographer? Even though that's kind of what he's most associated as in the comics. Having him be a reporter, he was a reporter for decades in the comics before he really became a photographer. So it's like there's arcs for these characters to grow on. And I guess part of Jimmy's arc is he might get a little bit better at dating and not necessarily do things that Brandon finds problematic.
Man,
This is just a green flag for Brandon. Like, this just makes Brandon seem like a nice guy.
Yes.
Jimmy stole my wife. That's what happened. Jimmy was. I walked in. It was my birthday, and there it was. Oh, worst birthday ever. Damn it, Jimmy. All right. Changes from comics, Jenna. This is all you here. We got to move a little bit. Let's start. Take it as much time you want, but after this, we're going to start moving a little bit quickly because we're already almost 40 minutes in here.
Yeah. So the big one that I wanted to address, really just the most monumental one that obviously is going to already have discourse, is the change to his parents, Jor-El and Lara, and what the second half of the message ultimately reveals. My feeling on it is I was definitely shocked by it immediately in the moment, but the more that it sat with me, it didn't feel completely out of left field because I have always viewed Jor-El as a very problematic, kind of flawed character. Like, he has good intentions, but he still is only just a puzzle piece in Clark on his journey. Like, Clark has to learn a lot of lessons on himself. And also, if you've seen Smallville, there are multiple seasons of Smallville that are dedicated to just Jor-El in the fortress kind of being a dick to Clark and like gaslighting him and making him do things that he doesn't necessarily want to do because he's just trying to push him to a certain point. So I found this twist really interesting. I've seen a lot of people be like, this is heresy, this is horrible, whatever. I think there's something to it. And I also think there are ways, if they wanted to down the line, like add even more to it in Supergirl or in a sequel or whatever, we can definitely touch on it more. But I'm very curious what everyone else thinks with it.
I'm okay with it. I'm also, like, everybody who has listened to this ever knows I'm not a comics purist. I'm okay with things being slightly changed or even just loosely inspired by comics and then taking liberties to, obviously nothing too crazy. But I'm not somebody who needs the same story, from the page pulled straight to the movie. I was okay with it. I found it kind of like a quick, convenient thing in terms of the plot device that it was used as. If for the sake of the world turning on Superman very instantly. But I thought it worked well in the movie. I thought it worked. It ended up working well. And I think we'll learn more about Krypton probably through Supergirl and future installments, like you said.
I didn't really, that didn't bother me at all. I was like, I did. Bradley Cooper took me out of it a little, though, I will admit, because I'm like,
yeah.
Did James Gunn see Bradley Cooper as like the Marlon Brando of our generation? And he is an amazing actor. I love him, but it did make, like, Angela Serafin as the mom. I really liked that choice because she has that kind of regal feel to her without being like a celebrity. Also, second person in the movie who was in the Twilight films, so shout out to that. But I thought it was a cool way, a smart way to make everyone turn against him. And I do like that it was like, there's no way this was doctored. This is real. I'm like, where do we get that technology in our world to know exactly without a doubt that something like that isn't fake?
I had the same thought.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there would be such a debate on whether or not that's real. And they just kind of took it for Lex's word. And then Terrific was like, I know these guys, man, and say it was true unless they knew it was true. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, we're just for the sake of the story, we're just accepting this. And that's okay. We're talking about a movie where a kaiju is a baby at night and then it's in the city and didn't knock a building over to get there. It's fine. But it was whatever. I also thought about the fact of like loose translation. Like, yo puedo hablar español, y when you talk Spanish, you can use a phrase in Spanish, which would be like slang, and a direct translation would be meaningless in English. The same thing, like if you said something in English as like a phrase, I'm blanking on this sort of example, but anybody who's bilingual will completely understand where I'm coming from. There are things you can say in one language that are a phrase that means something other than the literal words, and then when you translate it to another language, because they don't use that same phrase, it would just be like, what did you just say? So I thought about that. Like maybe it wasn't a direct translation where they were telling him to be evil and impregnate the planet. And maybe that wasn't exactly what but also maybe it was. Yeah.
I mean, there's also a bit of like other popular Superman-like characters having this be a part of their origin story, and then we just graph that stuff on because there was one story in like I want to say like the early 2000s where this was the hook for it, right? Was it Birthright?
Yeah,
Jenna, I don't know. Yeah, and then it just becomes a part of it, which is bizarre. It's so funny. Like he didn't write that story thinking it was going to influence the next 35 years of Superman lore, but here we are,
There's Daniel has an example in the chat, which would mean I'm going to kick your ass, but in a direct translation, you're talking about somebody's mother. So it just Yeah, like that's yeah. I'm not gonna pull it up on the screen because it's a little all right, cameos. Let's run through the cameos real quick. This one I would say was cameo / glorified cameo, supporting role-ish. Rick Flag Sr. from Creature Commandos. Frank Grillo in the part reprises the role from Creature Commandos without white hair this time, and he is in the trenches with the U.S. government in the Pentagon, making the decisions about Planet Watch, and he's got thoughts on metahumans, and he's still wrestling with the loss of his son from the events of the Suicide Squad, as we learned in Creature Commandos. If you haven't watched Creature Commandos, it's very, very different from Superman, but it is technically the first canon series in the new DC universe. I highly recommend that. I really like Rick Flag. He feels like a nice connective tissue, and we know he's going to go right into Peacemaker season 2. Anything about Rick Flag you guys wanted to point out?
I think just that, like, it feels like reading a comic and having all of these like side supporting characters, or even just other heroes, which we'll get into in a second. Just like they can just pop up and play a certain part in that particular story, and it doesn't have to become about that, but you can kind of track the arc from there. And so I like that we have him at one point in Creature Commandos, we have him at a different point in this, and then like James has already teased, like in Peacemaker, he goes full villain. So I'm excited for that.
I mean, speaking of Rick Flag going on to Peacemaker was in the movie. He showed up on basically Metropolis's Fox News.
Yep.
And he was a anti-Superman guy, which I was kind of annoyed by because Peacemaker has been growing on me, and then he's so anti-Superman on their version of Tucker Carlson. And I thought that was a really funny cameo, though. I did not see it coming at all.
I want to shout out that was Michael Ian Black as the news host, because I'm a big Michael Ian Black fan. I love The State. I love Stella. And to just see him take on this role, he's also a very, very active online, being the opposite of his character in this movie. So that was really fun to see as well.
We had at the end there 2 cameos. One was probably the biggest cameo of the movie.
I will say with the Peacemaker of it all, though, it's the audience reaction every single time is insane. Like if you told me 5 or 10 years ago that Peacemaker would warrant like audible applause and just laughter, it is a wild world to be living in, and I love it so much.
It's also I think it's John Cena as well. Like people, I think they pop for both. I think the audience is like, oh my God, John Cena's in the movie. And then they're also like, oh my God, Peacemaker's in the movie. So it's a sort of a double whammy there. But yeah, this one got a big pop too. Supergirl, of course, showing up at the end. We know that's the next movie that's coming. It is no longer called Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It is just Supergirl. Millie Alcock, her from House of the Dragon, showed up and just doesn't give Crypto any rules or training. And that was a nice fun cameo. I
love that reveal, because when Superman was like, he's a foster, I'm like, what? And then so I was like, oh, that obviously makes sense. And that was really cute. I love that she was wasted. Jenna's talked a lot about that in the past, about that arc of her in the comics. So I like that we're going to get a little party girl.
Yeah, because I feel like I do need to just say that to this audience, like now having seen the movie, because people are kind of like, why is she drunk? Why is she acting this certain way? Like that is the crux of the Woman of Tomorrow comic that the movie is based on, is she's like celebrating her birthday on a planet with a red sun, gets drunk, and then gets like thrown into this revenge plot and just has to kind of deal with all of that. And I know people might have their own preconceived notions of Supergirl as a character, but like this movie is going to challenge that. And I think Millie is already having so much fun doing that. Like just her energy is great. Her costume is so good. Even the coat she's wearing over it kind of like plays into Woman of Tomorrow in the comics. So I love it. And I love having Crypto be kind of the avenue to introduce people to her personality after spending the whole movie realizing that Crypto's a menace.
Alan Tudyk's like, this is why she has behavioral issues, is hysterical. Gary is funny.
Yeah. Love Gary, but really struggled with like, that's K2SO. That's the voice of K2SO. Love you, Alan Tudyk. Love that he's a voice, crushes the voice actor, but when you're playing another robot, I can only hear K2SO.
So's Gary. Maxwell Lord showed up at the end. There's also a photo of Maxwell Lord earlier in the film, but Maxwell Lord, Sean Gunn's portrayal of Maxwell Lord, who we also have seen in the Peacemaker trailer, right? He shows up at the end there. If there's one thing conservatives and liberals can both agree on, it's that Lex Luthor sucks. And he is the, owner of Lord Tech, owner of the Justice Gang, owner of the Hall of Justice right now. And we have a $10 here from Nona. I'm so happy I found you guys. We're happy you found us too. 8 or 9 out of 10. Wish it was a little bit longer. Lex was a menace, so cruel when he killed Molly. It was so brutal. I wasn't expecting that. The supporting cast was a delight. There's actually, I've heard from multiple people, there was a more vicious version of that same scene that, and I thought it landed the way it did really hard anyway. But, I think you have to make this movie family friendly. This is Superman. We're trying to get the kids out there too, so I get it. And I thought that scene worked the way they shot it very effectively.
Can I also say with the cameos, I love that they were just in the movie. Like that it wasn't, I feel like a lesser version of this movie or a different franchise's version of this movie would have made the Supergirl scene like the mid-credits kind of like Homecoming, Far From Home moment where you immediately just kind of dovetail into that scene. And I feel like the Peacemaker interview could have easily been like a funny post-credit scene that you just show out of context at the end. But I love that they were just in the movie. I think that is very comic booky. That is such a nice way to approach it. And it's something that just felt like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, the credit scene. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say that, like, to push back a little bit. This is also a shrewd way to get out of scoopers, because if you're looking for the post-credit scene, you're not looking in the last 5 seconds of the movie. And Gunn is smarter than most of these people out here trying to grift on the internet. So look for other franchises to start doing the exact same thing, where it's like, you're not going to know what these surprises are. We're just going to tack them on to the end of the movie instead of having them in the post-credit scene. And if that stops this nonsense, great. Awesome.
Right up to the finish line, I was convincing myself that we were getting worked, and they saved a credit scene for the actual opening release weekend, and Robert Pattinson was going to walk in. Thank you, Cantina Talk, for the $2. Real quick, let's have the real quick conversation about should Pattinson's Batman and this Superman coexist now that we've seen the movie. I think less than I did before that they should coexist. I think it's a win-win, though, because we either get a good Batman who fits into this comic booky world, or we get, Pattinson's Batman crossing over with two fully realized and lived in cities that have characters and personalities themselves. I am less on that train than I was before, though.
I think, I'm glad that you have come around to that, and I think other people seem to have as well. I am still firmly in no. If it were to happen, I would understand that that is the best possible narrative decision that they've come to. But I think that there is so much potential in this universe with just the disposition of it, with the potential of it, the 300 years of baked-in metahuman history, to really get weird with Batman and to do things that we haven't done in a mainstream context. And I think that is beautiful. I think having the Bat family in this universe, now that we've seen what this universe looks like, is going to make people lose their minds. They just don't know it yet because it's so far away.
Shout out to Stephen Hall for being the one person who agreed with me.
I think it would be interesting just because of the Metropolis versus Gotham, how different they are, because that is a true American city thing. And I think if they did it right, it would be really cool, but that was never the plan. And so I don't see how they could make it work this late in the game. If they could, I'd be so into it. And I think it would help the normies out there not be confused about what's going on.
I agree. That's a big thing.
I don't have strong feelings either way. I'll say that.
$4.99 from Low Key Nerd. Thank you so much, Low Key Nerd. Just want to say that I'm loving you guys' breakdown of Superman so far, and that this is my first time catching you guys live on YouTube. You're the best. You're the best, Low Key Nerd. Welcome to our live circus. We're glad you're here. Comment section really doesn't want that to happen at all. I see the win-win. I think it would be, I'm not going to lie, if it happened, I'd lose my mind if it's a surprise. If it doesn't, it's still a win. So maybe I'm easy to please.
I'm still kind of siding a little with BD because I just don't know. It seems like a logistical nightmare.
Yep.
Especially now that this movie is funny enough, more well regarded, at least in the early moments, than the Batman was. It's more important than the Batman is until we get to and even then maybe so. So you've already cast the actor. He's already there. You don't have to worry about it. You have a director who has a empty spot on their dance card. A lot of stupider decisions have been made because the dominoes lined up than that. But it would be a lot of stuff. And also, poor Matt, 4 whole pages thrown into the garbage to start over.
Wait, what happened?
I said, Matt, if he had to rewrite this movie so that they could coexist and it would be closer to the tone of this one, Matt would have to throw away the 4 pages he wrote, man.
All right, we're going to switch over to Easter eggs. We're going to use Judon Foster's comment here to kick us off. This was something I was like Leo in that meme. We saw the Gotham City on the highway sign. So Gotham City's out there. It's all out there. This is a fully realized DC universe. Yeah,
we already saw it in Creature Commandos. That's not a shocker.
Hey, still cool. Still not excited for it. Okay,
yeah.
Let me and Judon have our moment. No, I'm just
absolutely.
Playing. But I gotta give Jenna a big shout out for helping so much with building today's rundown, and specifically this Easter egg list here, which I'm gonna put in a few of my own while you run through these that you listed here.
Yeah, so I literally took notes at my second screening. I had my notebook ready to go, in part so I can make my video that I'm editing right now to put on my channel, breaking all of this down and even more. So we'll just get started. The opening crawl has the Gods and Monsters chapter title, which is what we're kind of using to have the first phase of this slate. James also revealed that this, like, the opening crawl was kind of a more recent addition, so that was really interesting. Gods and Monsters is also a chapter title in New Frontier, which is a very beautiful, very, very well done comic miniseries, and a lot of people, when the slate was announced, were speculating that might be like the Crisis level, Infinity War level event, and Lara says the words New Frontier in the video message, so that is a very interesting kind of little nugget, maybe for later. In terms of random cameos, Pom Klementif and Michael Rooker are the Kryptonian robots alongside Alan Tudyk, as Jamie mentioned. Michael Rosenbaum, who has done a bunch of voices in the DC animated universe and played probably the best Lex Luthor on Smallville, is one of the Raptors who metamorpho kills with acid. Joanna Brady, who is the wife of vigilante actor Freddie Stroma, is one of the civilians in Baker Line when the rift is about to open. Jake Tapper is a fictional version of himself and is also in Creature Commandos in a similar sort of way. And Will Reeve, who is Christopher Reeve's youngest son and is a real-life ABC News reporter, plays the reporter introducing the Justice Gang. So what do we think about all of those little cameos first?
I love the honoring of comics creators in this movie. Above all, I mean, they were all at the premiere too. Like everybody, they invited so many people. James Gunn wanted to celebrate them, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, because there are a lot of mentions of that. There's a Quitely & Sons TV store, which is a reference to All-Star Superman artist Frank Quitely. And then there are street signs named after Dan Jurgens, Mark Waid, and Alex Ross. There's probably more, but those are like the three most noticeable ones in the movie. And then Baravia and Jaranpur are both countries in the comics. Baravia's president is named after a one-off Wonder Woman villain who ran an evil colony on the moon and tried to kill Steve Trevor, like back in the 40s or 50s. And then Flo Crawley, who is the Argus employee who basically saves the day in the Suicide Squad by hitting Amanda Waller with a golf club and knocking her out, is back and got a promotion and is no longer in jail. The framed newspaper in Lois's apartment is an expose on Stag Industries, which is a research and development company in the DC universe and is run by Metamorpho's father-in-law. So we also see the Stag Industries building when the Justice Gang meet with Superman after he is kind of decompressing after getting the video message. The Justice Gang fight a dimensional imp outside while Clark and Lois are talking in the apartment. It is so funny having that be what that scene was after everyone was like, why is Clark aura farming while this thing's happening outside? And he's like, oh, they got it. It's fine. But the imp of it all is interesting because there are multiple characters who fit that bill. There's Batmite and there's Mr. Mxyzptlk, which is more of a Superman villain and would be absolutely crazy if we saw it in this universe. But I would not rule it out because we also name dropped Batmite in Peacemaker season 1. As you mentioned, there's the Gotham City highway sign. And then did anyone else other than Aaron and I notice the mural in the Hall of Justice?
Oh, there's tons of characters up there. I was trying to make out who they are. I saw like blue boots and I was like, wait a second, is that like an old school Batman or like an OG Batman suit or something? There's tons of characters on both sides.
Yes. So James said, like, pretty recently, like in the past week, that he teased that this mural exists and that it is showing the history of metahumans in the DCU. And he said once the movie is out, he will release high quality photos of this mural. I cannot wait for that day. I'm going to drop whatever I am doing and make a video about all of this, because even trying to peek at it in all of my screenings and just look elsewhere, catching the characters that I have has made me lose my mind. You can see Jay Garrick on there. You can see Vibe. You can see Freedom Beast, Super Chief, Atomic Knight, Black Pirate, and possibly Dr. Fate and Hawkman. And that's just with partial views just in the background of that scene, which I love that. A lot of people in the chat were already like, oh my gosh, that means like the JSA exists in this universe, which that just makes me so happy.
I thought that was a nice touch. The camera just kept not having it in frame,
which is
as
great.
I was trying to spot it, but you can see Jay Garrick pretty easily in there, and some of the other characters. I mean, I
gotta see this movie again. I need to go right now.
You do.
I didn't catch a lot of those that you just named, but yeah, that I kept waiting for the camera to pan back over. I was like trying to like move and like change the angle a little bit.
I love it though, because they could have easily like had a lingering shot on that, and that would have just been all I would have thought about the entire scene. But the scene itself is so good, it like almost distracts you from looking at the mural when it is on screen.
Yeah.
And then my last 2 Easter eggs. Lex's plan is kind of a remix of the Reeve movies, because in Superman 2 he makes a secret deal so he can run Australia, which is very similar to what he's trying to do with Jaran. And then in Superman 4 Quest for Peace, he steals a lock of Superman's hair so he can clone him into his own personal superhero. So we kind of got that modernized here. And then in the end of the movie, when Metamorpho is back home watching the news coverage about Lex, his wife Sapphire Stagg is with him. So we have the little family with the 2 of them and baby Joey.
Did anyone for cloned Superman? Was anyone else getting like Revenge of the Sith Anakin vibes?
Oh,
he
yeah.
really to me was like looking like him, and rah, rah, I'm angry. But I kept that. Which listen, if you're evoking Revenge of the Sith, you're doing something right. But I'm curious if anyone else had that thought. Please.
No, but I love that.
I had not.
The chat is asking about like if he's going to become Bizarro down the line. Chris, my husband, had a theory instead, which is his name is Ultraman, and in the comics, Ultraman is the Earth 3 evil version of Superman who works with the crime syndicate and is just basically the evil version of the Justice League. I would not be surprised if the black hole that he gets thrown into throws him onto an Earth where there is no Superman, and then he just takes the name Ultraman and becomes that superhero. I also want to see that world because in that world, Lois Lane is evil and is a super like hero, and it is great. And I think that is something that the audience especially would really want to see.
I could see that. I could also, because everything from that weird pocket universe that was getting sucked into the black hole was cubes. It could go build Hitre, Bizarro's like cubish planet, but also Ultraman. Yeah. Like the message from Jor-El became kind of Ultraman's mission in some comics too. So I feel like they kind of already did a story like that. So I could see him becoming Bizarro if we ever see Ultraman, this clone again. Did the reveal of Ultraman work for you guys? Did it really impact you? Because typically if you have a masked character, when you pull it off, I feel like we all kind of knew this, especially once the fortress popped up in the beginning and Lex was like, yeah, I watched this. I was like, oh, okay, Ultraman has Superman's DNA. So I kind of also just, in watching so much and talking so much about this, I always felt like, oh, that being a clone of him is going to not be surprising. I couldn't even figure out what else it could be. But how'd that reveal work for you guys?
I don't think the movie was ever really supposed to be about that. Like another movie would have made that like the huge like Darth Vader level plot twist reveal. But I think it works. And I think that, like you said, like it works on a plot level. I also think it is just funny that Lex does that and clones his own Superman after spending the whole movie being like tall, dark, and Martian isn't my type and all of that sort of stuff, when canonically he literally combines his DNA with Superman's and makes Superboy. So he's kind of not practicing what he preaches, but we at least now know he's into the weird cloning stuff.
Yeah. All right, you got through all of these. Yeah. There was, I caught little things like just the same as you'd see like Roxxon and Daredevil. There's Jitter's Coffee, which is a DC Comics thing you've seen all over the CW, like the soda companies, all that stuff. There were just tons of little brands that are known in DC Comics and have been featured in other live action projects, which I thought were fun. All right, I think it's time for 10 scores, unless we have something else we want to talk about.
There's one thing I want to bring up because I loved this movie and I've 90% positive things to say, but there was one thing that bummed me out and I feel like I have to say it out loud, which is everyone knows that my biggest complaint with The Last Superman is that he didn't have a Clark persona, and we only got one scene of the Clark persona, and David crushed it. The scene at the Daily Planet where he's like getting made fun of and stuff. Like I loved that, but I was like, I really wanted more Clark. And I was bummed that like Clark in disguise, not, you know what I mean? That was my biggest complaint, which where's it going to fit? I understand. But I always think of Christopher Reeve, that moment where he stands up straight is one of my favorite acting moments in the history of comic book movies. And I just loved Clark Kent, and I just wanted more of our nerdy boy. I think that's
I think that's totally fair, but I also think we see so much of just Clark as a person just through the movie itself. And I think like there is a really interesting story to the idea that like Clark Kent is a disguise in and of itself. And I think like just to bring up the Batman again, it does Bruce Wayne in a very similar sort of way. Like you see Bruce Wayne when he's in public and you see Bruce Wayne when he's in private. And I think we got something similar here. And I want to see more of the nerdy persona down the line, but I also think it was used very intentionally. And we just got so much more of the earnestness of Clark instead, which was better.
Which was great. I wasn't like he really crushed it. Like I really believed him in this role so much. Just on a personal level, I like when he's like, "Oh, I think it's cute." But for that to be my only like real complaint is impressive. You know,
I thought Clark kind of bled through some of the Superman scenes too, like before the interview or interrogation, whatever you want to call that. Like when she was like, "You let me interview you as Superman," and he's like, "Yeah." You know, his voice kind of cracks a little bit right now. Like I thought those moments were really nice, and then obviously the way he talks as Superman. Oh, what the hey, dude! Like when he's talking to Crypto. To me, like I agree. I would like more Clark in the Daily Planet interacting with people as Clark, not kind of bleeding through Superman. But I thought it was a really nice combination of the two when he would let those more, you know, Clarkish moments shine through as Supes.
I really want, since we didn't get to see Lois learning the truth, which is like, I love that. I give us Jimmy learning it. I just want somebody figuring it out. And I think that would be a great acting opportunity. I want somebody we love to find out the truth in like the next one. And I hope it's Jimmy, because that'll be delightful.
I think it'll be Jimmy.
It's going to trigger an existential crisis in that man. Who is the coolest man at the Daily Planet, and then it would be like, but you're no man, you're the coolest guy I know. Come on, like, what do you mean?
What's funny is the person who thinks they're the coolest guy at that office was the one who was in the back seat going, "Why don't I have a seat?" I thought Steve Lombard was hilarious in that Beck Bennett. Shout out to Beck Bennett for a great job being the butt of the joke as Steve Lombard and embracing that. That was fun. I feel like we could talk about this forever.
Yes.
You know, follow all of us, you know, especially follow Jenna's channel because she's going to have so much great content. I feel like this is Jenna's Super Bowl right now.
It is.
And she's pouring her heart and her soul and her big old brain into everything on that Go Read Some Comics channel. But we do have to wrap this up. So let's get to the 10 scores to finish out Superman week on Phase Hero. Jenna, Superman out of 10.
What pressure for me to go first? Like,
gosh. Do you want me to go first? I will.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to say this. There's a rating I would give this movie if I was trying to be like a critic or, you know, something like that, which is like quality of the movie. And then there's how much I enjoyed the movie, which is when I talk on Twitter, I talk about how much I enjoyed this movie. Not like that. Like, and to me, I think that's like how Jamie says rewatchability, things like I consider that. And I think those are sometimes two different scores. Like I would say, Winter Soldier is probably the best Marvel movie. It's not my favorite in terms. So my personal score, my opinion score on Superman, I'm giving this movie a 9 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed it, and I felt so fulfilled and inspired and happy when it was over. I have not cried happy tears in a movie that I can ever remember. And I want to be this Superman. He makes me want to be a better person. If I could be one person on screen that I've seen recently, this is a character I'd love to live his life for what he is to the world and for what the world gives back to him and how he never gives up. I just love this portrayal of Superman. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. Jenna, what'd you think?
Again, this movie only gets better upon rewatch. I look forward to rewatching it over and over and over again. This was the movie of the year for me. And I feel like, honestly, this is going to be such a flashpoint in how we look at these superhero movies. Like, I think it is changing so much, not just in like the way that DC is being received and being embraced, but just in the way that we can tell these stories. I think any flaws or faults I might have with it are just so vastly outweighed by that experience and just the joy of everything. So I'm going to say like a 9.9. Like just to be fair, but just to basically be like, I cannot think of any detrimental flaws of this movie. I am in disbelief that it exists.
Is there any comic book movie you've given a 10?
I I mean, like years ago. Like I think as my taste has developed, I don't know. I would give it a 10, but then people would call me a shill. So I'm going to say 9.9 just to be a
Live
little
your
bit.
truth, Gemma. You gave it a 5 on Letterboxd.
That
That's
is
a 10
true.
by Phase Hero standards. I'm just saying.
That is true. Then sure, 10.
Jenna with a 10. Let's go.
Okay.
Right. I like to influence my friends.
Jamie?
I give it a 4.5 on Letterboxd. The ending cinched that extra half star for me, which brings it out to a 9. If by math standards, so I'm going to keep it at a 9. I loved it. Like I said, there are a few other complaints that I have that aren't worth talking about on this podcast, because my feelings were so overwhelmingly positive. So give it a 9.
Aaron, rounding out our score here.
I am going to do something slightly controversial, and I'm going to give it the score that it should have based on the tone of the show and how our collective sort of like read of it. I think like a 9. I have other things that lie outside of the movie that quite honestly irk me about some of this. You know what I mean? But it's not enough to let me F up the score. I don't care enough to do that. And everyone seems to be having a good time. Jamie knows I don't care about no number scores. I don't care about anything like that at all. The only ranking I want to do is that top 10 of the 20th century thing, 21st century thing. We're going to do phase 5 at some point, people. And I'm going to get through that too with beta blockers, but 9.
9 from Aaron, which gives us a 9.25 score for Superman on the official. So you round up, that's a 9.3 because, I went to public school, but I know 0.5 goes up. And that is a 9.3 is the official score from Phase Hero. The rule is only 1 decimal point here, but that decimal point is important and it comes from the heart. So 9.3 score. Chat, go ahead, sound off, hit the thumbs up, and drop that 10 score in the comments as we wrap this up. Jenna, any last words for today's Superman spoiler-filled review and discussion episode of Phase Hero?
Thank you all so much for watching. It's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on social media. As always, go read some comics. If you loved any character in this movie, even if they're on screen for like a second, go explore their comic history because you will be so delighted with what you find. And you cannot get more like comic accurate to the spirit of all of these characters. And I hope that leads you to then find the comics as well. And as you mentioned, go subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is at Go Read Some Comics. I have my spoiler-free reaction review to the movie, and I'm currently in the middle of editing my first of probably many spoiler-filled breakdowns. And this is my Super Bowl. I am so excited that this movie exists and that we're just in this new DC universe.
Jamie?
2 things. First thing, I have to use this platform to plug the fact that Tony and I made it to the top 20 of America's favorite couple. So the next week is voting to get down to the top 15. Go on my Instagram link. You get 1 free vote a day, or you can donate to some good causes and we get more votes. But I'm not asking for money, so just give us that free vote. It's a good prize, and I wanted to be able to brag and say I'm part of America's favorite couple. Number 2, don't forget that when you go to the movies this weekend to see Superman, put your phone in your pocket. You want to take a photo? Take it with the poster outside. Take it with your ticket. Take it with your Superman t-shirt. Somebody tried to do a gotcha with me, like, well, look at me. I took a photo of the screen. It was of the screen before the movie started. That's okay. If there's like a Superman image on the screen and the movie's not playing, you do you, babies. But once those lights go down, the movie's on the screen, you're rude. You're rude if your phone's out. So keep that in mind.
I have to say my screenings have all been very well behaved so far. Like there was a kid on the Tuesday Amazon screening who had an iPad, and we were so worried we were going to have to tell them to put the iPad away during the movie. But the second that the lights went down, they were locked into the entire time. And I was so thankful.
Aaron, what you got?
It's at Some Lake Hornet on all platforms, at How to Watch Free TV. I'll have the Free Space newsletter out later today. Also discussing Jurassic World Rebirth. See, I can't even get the title right. That's how excited about the film we are, because this is Superman week. I'll be on Break Room later today on New Rockstars talking more about old Man of Steel, or maybe I shouldn't say that, but we all had a good time, and I'm just really happy, if I can say, Jenna, this has been so long coming. We were in another universe while you were waiting for this movie. I'm so happy that you and BD got to go to this premiere. Truly.
We love it here. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us. If you go to phasehero.com, you will find some new merch on the site. It is only going to be available in July. we have some new stuff on the site that you can go get, and then it will never be available again. So head over to phasehero.com to find that. Our summer and movie season inspired merch. I think it's pretty cool. I hope to see somebody wearing it. I'm going to be wearing it myself. Thank you guys so much. Please subscribe to everybody's channels. Please check out LVW Wrestling every Thursday night. If you didn't watch last night's match, it got a little chaotic and I left a little bit pissed off, but you guys can check that out and have a good time with it. I also posted a video on my channel, what it's like to wrestle for a day. So if you're remotely interested in the wrestling world, and even if you don't know wrestling, this might be an interesting way. I just shared what it's like to spend a day going to have a wrestling match, more specifically a ladder match. So thank you to everybody who is showing support on the wrestling front too. I appreciate you guys. And shout out to Richard, the GOAT, for filming and editing that video. He crushed it. Thank you. phasehero.com. Play our show for your dad. Play it for your cat. Subscribe to the channels. Leave 5-star reviews. Leave comments. There's a couple people I have to shout out from comments. I meant to pull them up, but I forgot to because it's just been a chaotic weekend. And if you're at SmackDown tonight, say hi. Enjoy Superman weekend, everybody.